The heavy click of the key in the lock feels like the final task of an exhausting marathon. You've spent 9 hours under fluorescent lights, navigating deadlines, emails, and the quiet pressure of being productive. Your shoulders are a knot of tension, and your only craving is the silence of your own home. But as the door swings open, the silence is shattered. A plastic toy, cracked and jagged, lies in the middle of the hallway. Before you can even drop your bag, the air is pierced by a high-pitched, jagged scream. Your toddler is on the floor, face flushed crimson, limbs flailing in a chaotic dance of frustration because a tiny wheel snapped off a toy car. In that moment, something inside you snaps too. Your heart races, your vision narrows, and you feel that familiar burning urge to shout, to demand silence, to end the chaos by any means necessary. But then, you remember a scene from a documentary or a travel vlog, a crowded Tokyo subway at rush hour. Hundreds of people squeezed into a silver tube, yet the atmosphere is serene. Children as young as 4 or 5 sit quietly or stand patiently holding a handrail, their faces calm, their voices hushed. No shouting, no bribes, no threats from their parents. How is this possible? Is it a cultural secret, or is it something deeper, etched into the very biology of how they are raised? At Mind Academy, we believe that understanding the why behind the chaos is the first step toward peace. Today, we aren't just looking at Japanese etiquette. We are diving into the neuroscience of Shitsuke, the art of raising calm, resilient children without ever using the weight of punishment. To understand this profound difference, we must first dismantle our conventional, often Western, concept of discipline. In many modern cultures, discipline is heavily intertwined with control, a transactional dynamic where good behavior is rewarded and bad behavior is met with swift punishment, isolation, or the sharp crack of a raised voice. We think we are teaching a lesson, but in Japan, the foundational concept of child rearing is something entirely different. It is called Shitsuke. Look closely at the Japanese kanji character for Shitsuke. It is a beautiful amalgamation of two distinct elements: body, shen, and beautiful, mei. Shitsuke does not translate to forcing compliance through fear or breaking a child's will. It translates to beautifully modeling how to carry oneself in the world. It is about planting a seed of self-awareness, not pruning a tree with the sheer, brutal force of authority. Let's look at what actually happens inside your child's brain when we resort to traditional fear-based discipline. When you stand tall, raise your voice, and yell, "Stop crying right now," or threaten them with an immediate timeout, you are instantly activating your child's amygdala. The amygdala is the primitive, almond-shaped alarm system buried deep within the temporal lobe of the brain. It does not process logic, morality, or reason. It processes one thing only: survival. When you shout, the child's amygdala perceives your booming voice and towering posture, not as a loving parent trying to teach a lesson, but as a literal predator. The alarm sounds, and the brain instantly floods their tiny body with cortisol and adrenaline. The child is thrust into an involuntary state of fight, flight, or freeze. They might suddenly quiet down, but make no mistake, they haven't learned a moral lesson about emotional regulation. They have simply shut down because they are terrified. They are not learning how to manage their feelings. They are only learning how to survive you. Japanese parenting intuitively bypasses this primitive alarm system by focusing entirely on a different area of the brain, the prefrontal cortex. This is the evolutionary masterpiece of the human brain, the seat of logic, empathy, emotional control, and complex decision-making. But here is the critical biological reality we often forget. A toddler's prefrontal cortex is incredibly immature. It is essentially under heavy construction. In Japanese culture, parents act as their child's external prefrontal cortex. They rely heavily on a cultural cornerstone called Amae, which loosely translates to a deep, trusting dependence or the sweet reliance a child has on their caregiver's love. When a Japanese child acts out or experiences emotional turbulence, instead of isolating them in a timeout chair, parents often draw them closer. They understand that a child who is emotionally dysregulated is neurologically incapable of being reasoned with from a distance. The physical closeness, the gentle, low-frequency tone of voice, these are not signs of weakness, submission, or spoiling the child. They are calculated, profound neurological interventions. By providing a calm, safe harbor, the parent helps the child's nervous system shift out of the sympathetic state, the panic zone, and back into the parasympathetic state, the rest and digest zone, where actual learning and connection can occur. This brings us to a crucial paradigm shift. It is a shift in perspective that can immediately lift the crushing weight of guilt and inadequacy off your tired shoulders. When your child is thrashing on the hallway floor, screaming over a broken plastic wheel, they are not trying to manipulate you. They are not plotting to make your evening miserable. They are not giving you a hard time. they are having a hard time. Imagine their brain as a delicate radio receiver that has suddenly lost its signal, blasting nothing but chaotic, deafening static. Their nervous system is entirely overwhelmed, short-circuiting under the weight of an emotion, disappointment, frustration, exhaustion, that is simply too massive for their tiny, underdeveloped neurological pathways to process. A tantrum is not an act of defiance. It is a messy, desperate SOS. It is an immature brain begging you, the adult, to lend them your calm, to help them tune their radio dial back to a clear, peaceful frequency. But let's be brutally honest here. Knowing the neuroscience is one thing. Living it at 6:30 p.m. on a Tuesday, when you are physically depleted, emotionally drained, and running on fumes, is entirely another. When you are standing in that hallway, the idea of being your child's peaceful Zen master feels not just impossible, but almost insulting. The sheer exhaustion of modern adulthood leaves very little margin for patience. You are not a bad parent because you get angry. Your own amygdala is screaming from the stress of the day. You are simply a human being running on empty. We see you, and we know exactly how heavy that invisible backpack of parenting feels. So, how do we bridge this gap? We don't need a massive overhaul of our lives, and we certainly don't need to strive for an unattainable, perfect state of Zen. We just need one small, highly effective micro habit. At Mind Academy, we call this the 2-minute eye level rule. The next time the static hits and your child melts down, resist the powerful urge to tower over them, to fix the problem, or to command silence. Instead, do this. Drop your bags, let the broken toy be. Physically lower your body, kneel or sit on the floor, until your eyes are horizontally aligned with, or even slightly below, your child's eyes. Do not say a single word yet. For just 2 minutes, close your mouth and take 3 deep, slow, audible breaths from your diaphragm. Why does this minimalist action work so miraculously? It activates one of the most powerful mechanisms in the human brain, mirror neurons. These are the brain cells responsible for empathy, imitation, and shared experience. When you lower your physical presence, you instantly remove the threat from their amygdala. And as you breathe deeply and rhythmically, your child's mirror neurons begin to unconsciously lock onto your state. Without realizing it, their erratic breathing will begin to match your steady rhythm. You are literally syncing their chaotic nervous system to your grounded one. You are transferring your calm beautifully and effectively without uttering a single syllable. Ultimately, raising a child isn't just about molding them into polite little adults. It is a profound, often uncomfortable journey of reparenting ourselves. Every single time you choose to drop to your knees instead of raising your voice, you are doing something revolutionary. You are not just wiring your child's brain for lifelong emotional resilience. You are actively healing your own inner chaos. You are breaking heavy generational cycles of fear and replacing them with a beautiful, enduring legacy of deep, quiet connection. Parenting in this fast-paced modern world is undoubtedly exhausting, but you absolutely do not have to navigate this overwhelming journey alone. If this neurological shift in perspective brought even a small breath of relief to your day, we invite you to join our growing community. Hit the subscribe button to Mind Academy, where we continuously translate complex science and minimalist philosophies into practical, everyday peace. Let's build a calmer, more mindful life together, one tiny, intentional micro habit at a time. Take a deep breath. You are doing a great job, and we will see you in the next video.